It's a path we never thought we would ever have to go through. And I'm so happy we've gone through it because he's changed us in so many ways. I mean, I grew up at 30. I saw the light, I saw the world in a completely new light. Oh, it was amazing. I loved being pregnant with Jacob. It was just the greatest time in my life. I was so excited. I always wanted to be a mother.
This won't be here.
I'm a teacher. I loved kids. I couldn't wait.
Will it be blue? Will it be pink?
It just felt great. I loved everything about being pregnant.
Oh, hi. Here we are, getting ready. First step.
Even the delivery was exciting. There was a lot of fun in the room.
And the baby's heart rate. And that's monitored by a machine over here.
There was a lot of things going on that we didn't expect, but it worked out great.
That's our baby. I'm so happy. Nice job.
He had a perfect score on the ABCAR, and he was so beautiful.
Good head control, good tone. He's perfect. Everyone's so
Excited. Our life together.
Around 6 to 7 weeks, we started talking to people about certain milestones that their children were meeting.
Look who's up. Hey, Jacob.
What milestones we should be expecting around that time. One of those things was ability to start to hold the head up a little bit and also tracking. And he wasn't doing any of that.
I would say to my friends and my family, isn't he supposed to be looking at me now? And they'd all say, no, Ellen, he's just a baby, don't worry. And then he just started to cry, and he cried and cried and cried.
So it became a concern, and we mentioned it to our pediatrician.
And then around 2.5 months, we started testing.
Talk about changing your life. She called, and as soon as we heard her voice, we knew that something was wrong.
They just told us he had Canavan disease, and we looked at what's that? This rare disease. We don't know a lot about it.
And then we started asking questions.
Will he eat? No. Will he go to school? No. Will he be able to say mommy? No.
And it was a difficult time because all the answers came out either no, he's not going to do that, or no, he's not going to be here that long, or no, there's no cure, or I don't know.
Say hi, Daddy. Hi, Daddy.
Hello.
Hi, Daddy.
Diggy, diggy.
Initially, she said that more than likely he won't live to the age of 5, but sometime between the ages of 3 to 5 he'll get increasingly sick, and we shouldn't expect him to live beyond that.
I just remember I'd had to go home and see Jacob, and after knowing that, how could I be the mother that I want to be? It was very hard.
My first child, my first boy in the family, I mean, it was all the things that come along with that, all the excitement that led up to that.
There's the daddy, there's the mommy, and there's these very healthy kids.
I mean, your jaw drops and your heart drops and you don't know what to do.
It's really a degeneration of the myelin in your body. That what the myelin is it sends the messages from your brain to the rest of your body. It tells you to walk, it tells you to talk, it tells you to do it tells you to move your finger. And Jacob's myelin is deteriorating, and it affects everything in his body and will eventually kill him.
He inherits a defective gene from both of us. At the time when Ellen and I went for genetic counseling, they could have detected that we were both carriers of this defective gene. That was available at the time in the US, but here in Canada at the time, they did not even ask the question. So we had no idea. You know what, it was upsetting. It was definitely upsetting. There was a lot of anger there. What are we going to do, though? I mean, the way I look at things, I'm in the status quo. I've got to deal with what's in front of me right now.
Where's Mommy?
We could have gone in two directions. One direction was to be private and keep the sickness within our immediate family and go through life and deal with it on a very close-knit level. Or we could go public. Well, let's try and find a cure. Let's try and prevent other people from getting the same disease.
So that's how Jacob's Ladder started, because we didn't want anyone else to have to go through what we had gone through and go through every day.
The other thing that we want to do is we want to fund projects that are geared towards research into neurodegenerative disease.
Not just Canavan disease, but other neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Tay-Sachs. There's just endless. And if we can find something in one of the diseases, it may affect all of them.
The technical name for the foundation is called the Canadian Foundation for Control of Neurodegenerative Disease. Well, try and write that on a check. It's a little bit long. So once we had that in place, because that's really the true meaning of it, we said, well, let's try and find something with Jacob's name in it. I mean, really, this is Jacob's legacy. And if we could find something with his name, it would be great. The ladder, it's pretty much self-explanatory. I mean, one rung at a time, we're climbing towards a cure, we're climbing towards prevention. It just fit. Jacob's Ladder is a labor of love. Our first fundraiser was the one that Starbucks put on for us back in February of 1998.
They had all the stores on Eglinton participate, and they had a silent auction and a live auction, and within a week they raised $10,000.
It's been a tough year for our family.
250 twice. So, the lady over here, please give her...
We've had movie nights, we've had a golf tournament every year. We had a kids' day at the ROM. Toronto doctors, who are very talented, put on a show every year called Life Beat. And for 2 years in a row, they chose Jacob's Ladder as the charity.
We even had 4 guys who are a bit of adrenaline junkies climb a mountain in Washington, Mount Rainier, and raise about $75,000 to support their climb. And they had people climbing stairs at their office buildings so that the company would match funds. So it's been a lot of fun. The fact that these people are drawn to what we're doing is because of Jacob, is because we're out there, we're not taking what life has to give, but we're actually taking a step forward and saying, well, let's make good of it. Let's really do something positive with it. And I think people look at that and say, wow, that's kind of neat. Let's become a part of that. The biggest accomplishment of the foundation so far is the fact that we have been able to get screening available in Ontario at no cost or hassle to at-risk people. That was huge for us. We set out in 1998 with a study at Sick Kids so that we could determine a carrier rate of the defective gene to prove that yes, there is enough of a frequency rate here to get that covered for it to be something that we should test for. That was fully funded by Jacob's Ladder. And to have accomplished this in 2.5 years was a real feather in our cap, and it's something that we're tremendously proud of.
Happy birthday to you.
How would I describe my son? Loving, sweetest human being in the world, the strongest person I know. And he just loves his little life.
Medical life started to get very complicated for Jacob when we got involved with some experimental gene replacement therapy. That was a real challenging time going through the procedure. It was exceptionally challenging because you and I, we go into a doctor's office, they look for a vein to try and take a blood sample. We see the needle coming, we know when it's going to prick a little bit, and then it's over. Jacob was this adorable, chubby little kid. You'd be hard-pressed to find a vein in him.
Jakey!
Doesn't know what's going on. Why are you hurting me? And all he's doing is screaming, and we can't do anything about it. And this is going on endlessly for 3 months. And it was just heartbreaking.
Jacob Schwartz is one of 16 children in North America participating in a precedent-setting study. Researchers here at Yale New Haven Hospital are injecting new genetic material into the brains of these children in an attempt to stop the devastating progress of Canavan disease.
As a result of that trial, that he acquired an infection, had about an hour-and-a-half seizure, and was in the hospital for 3 months beyond that, had about 9 different neurosurgeries to make sure that he was stable enough to go home. And it was one of the most challenging times in my life, that's for sure.
For a full year, we didn't know who our Jacob was anymore. And he came back. He always does, somehow, which is miraculous. He's like pretty much sitting up on his own. Well, now he's pushing back, but he was using his arms.
The learning curve is huge, and it doesn't stop. I mean, the thing about a neurodegenerative disease, it's progressive. So even though Jacob's maturing and he appears at his happiest he's ever been right now, the disease takes something away from him every year, physically.
During the first year of life, he could lift up his head, he could move his body, he would lay on the bed and he'd move his arms, move his legs and laugh, and we could feed him, he would nurse, he could drink from a bottle. The second year of life, he would start to choke on his liquids, so we had to move him to really thick food because he couldn't swallow the liquids anymore. He wasn't moving around as much. His head became much more floppy. Around 3, the whole year he wasn't responsive. We didn't know if he would ever come out of that second seizure. And we were talking about palliative care. We thought that was it. And then he came back again. And this year 4 and the beginning of 5 has just been amazing. He isn't moving his legs or arms that much, but he still laughs, and you look at those eyes and there's so much life behind those eyes.
Our main focus with Jacob has always been that he's happy. After we got out of the hospital, after all the surgeries, after the gene therapy and everything that went with it, Alan and I looked at each other and we said, you know, he's cried more than he ever needed to in a lifetime. And we look at him and say, he doesn't have to cry anymore.
And that was looking very worried.
I just want him to be part of our life.
Jakey, was that funny? Was that funny?
To not be in pain, to enjoy his sister, to enjoy our new baby, to just be with us for as long as he can. And I don't want him to feel pain. When it's time for him to go, he'll go, but I just want his quality of life to be really good.
Jacob is just generally a really happy boy. He loves to be at school. He loves to sing and play and do all the things that little boys love to do. Hello, Jacob. Ready to come back up?
Beverly School has been the best thing in Jacob's life in the last 2 years, without question.
Push. Push with this arm on the switch. We have the time and the resources to provide him with the stimulation kinds of activities that he needs for his vision and his hearing, and for his body to, you know, the physiotherapy, that exercises that we get from our therapists, and the different activities that we can really stimulate Jacob with.
He participates in everything and then some.
What would you like to play with now? Would you like to go for a wagon ride? Go, Jacob.
The people at the school are phenomenal facilitators.
Okay, Jacob, here we go. In the snoozling room.
And the equipment that they have at the school, we couldn't possibly imagine having in our home.
The Snoozland room is a specially designed room for the students at Beverly that stimulates their senses. And when we take Jacob into the room, what he likes to do is to lie on the vibrating mat, and he can feel that all down his body. He likes to look at the lights. We have all sorts of different lights on the walls and fiber optic lights that he can hold and touch.
He goes swimming once or twice a week in an indoor pool. And swimming for Jacob is the best thing there is, because all of a sudden there's no constraints on his limbs. No, I mean, he can flow and the weight's taken off.
I think he feels freedom. As soon as he gets in, he just relaxes. And you can just feel his whole body go, and he just loves it. It's magical for him.
He absolutely loves the school. He goes to school with a smile on his face. He comes off the bus with a smile on his face. He's happier than he's ever been.
These days, almost anything makes Jacob happy. He loves people around him. He loves funny noises. That's my baby.
One of the things that we learned very early was Jacob's response level to music and sound.
When Jacob was 6 months old, I took him to a Kayla class.
That was nice singing, Jacob.
It was in somebody's living room, and it was a group of children, all healthy. And I took Jakey, and he heard her voice, and his eyes lit up, and he started to sing along, and he was laughing. And Kayla saw this, and she saw this little boy, and she fell in love with him. He fell in love with her. I fell in love with both of them. And they just had a love affair from then on.
Once upon a time. Once upon a time.
And Kayla brought some unbelievable things to the table. She does all sorts of things with herself. She does a trumpet with her mouth. She does all sorts of different kind of noises and sounds that he wouldn't ordinarily hear. And the intricacy of the guitar, he absolutely loved that, to the point where sometimes we would have to pull him out of situations because he was being so vocal and being so responsive, but always in a happy way.
When Jakey was in the hospital for those 2 months, Kayla would come down with her guitar, and he wouldn't respond. There was nothing we could do. She would play 3 little notes on that guitar, and you just see his eyes open. And he knew that she was there.
Music gives Jacob so much that I want to be part of Jacob's life for as long as I possibly can. And as long as Jacob is around, I want to be there for him. And his parents have given me that opportunity to be touched by one soul so much and enlightened by the love that he has to offer and his parents and family have to offer. They truly are a bright light. And that's why you see that light in Jacob's eyes, because it comes from Jeff and Ellen.
The way we stay strong, the way we stay focused, it's as a result of Jacob. He puts a lot of things into perspective for us. And the same with Jacob's Ladder.
The foundation is just a huge extension of the love that they have to give to the community.
Jacob's Ladder for us has been a huge source of strength. I look at that and say, well, Ellen and I and the family and the kids are going through, at times, tremendous stress level. There's a lot of pressure on the family unit when things aren't going right. And then in the back of everything, we've got Jacob's Ladder, and we have this huge group of volunteers dedicated who literally manufacture time in their day to do the things that they do to make it successful. And then there's people from out of left field who send in a check, who you know they're struggling on their own, but they still send in a check. And we look at that and we say, wow, I mean, look what's going on at home, but this is really important. And we draw a tremendous amount of energy and strength from the way people give and what they give.
To us, this is Jacob's legacy. This is why Jacob's here, to educate people, to tell them how strong you can be from such a terrible disease. Such a good boy. A very busy day today. We've seen the community come together. We've seen our friends and family come together.
I look at Jacob and I say, he's got something to teach the world. And he's teaching us as a family, but he's teaching everybody who touches him that, you know what? There's other things out there, but look at me. Look how tough I am, and I still got this amazing giggle from the bottom of my belly. You know, life is good. Enjoy it while you're here.